Welcome back to my channel. I have 4 new Easter DIYs for you today. I'll be using this winter sign from the Dollar Tree for 2 of them. I give it a base coat of white chalk paint. I wanted the sign to be very light and the colors very muted, so I go in with some very watered down light pink paint, and I'm just going to add some stripes. I want some of the white to come through the pink stripes, and I also add a little bit of light pink to the white areas, giving it a lightly streaked look. I'll be using traditional Easter pastel colors for all of my projects today. I won't be using the holes for this particular sign, so I do end up covering them with spackle. I'll be using these wood cutouts from Hobby Lobby, and I apply some Mod Podge to one side, press them to some scrap paper, and then use an X-Acto knife to cut them out. I'm using a gingham pattern scrapbook paper, all in pastel colors. I'll be using these wood letters from Walmart, and I covered them with a very different but very light muted plaid pattern scrapbook paper. Cut 3 different size squares from some scrapbook paper that I had, and I'm just layering them on top of each other and then adding the wood letter to the top. I go in and just try to figure out how I want the letters to lay so that they're not hanging off the sign too much and they're overlapping a little bit. After gluing the letters in place, I go ahead and glue the bunnies to the sign. I chose to add the words welcome because I wanted more of a spring sign for this particular project versus just for Easter. The bunnies from Hobby Lobby come with their own little pom-pom tails. I'm keeping this project really simple and not adding a lot of embellishments. Here's a closer look. I may end up changing the wood letters to paint them a color where they stand out more. I haven't really decided on that yet, but I intentionally wanted to make this a very muted and understated sign for spring. For project number two, I'm building my own fence. So using some jumbo craft sticks from Walmart, I painted them white, I sanded the edges, and now I'm just going in with a little bit of burnt umber using a makeup sponge and just lightly going around some of the edges as well as the front of the stick. And I'm just doing a little bit of distressing and weathering to it. I cut some craft sticks lengthwise, and I'll be using those to hold the pieces of the fence together. I'm sure you can find some wood bunny shapes from any craft store at this time of year, but I decided to go with the ones on the left, which are from Hobby Lobby. Using some different wood letters from Walmart, I painted them in nice bright spring colors, and I'm just adding a little detail by adding little sections of 3 white dots. Off camera, I did add some bows to each bunny just using some twine and some little colored buttons that I had in my stash to match the paper. And I have a number of different embellishments from the Dollar Tree as well as Hobby Lobby, and I'm just trying to decide which ones I want to use and where to put them. These little felt flowers from Hobby Lobby have a cute little gem in the middle, and they do come with the adhesive on the back. Here's a look at the final project. I'm really glad that I had matching buttons to the paper that I had on hand. I love the detail in the letters and the fence, and I think this would make a really cute spring sign. For project number three, I'm going to use another one of those winter signs from the Dollar Tree. Again, I painted it white, and I'm just going in and adding some lines with a pencil to give the illusion that this sign is a fence. So I'm just marking off the segments based on the edges of the sign. I use my finger to blend out the lead and add more dimension to the sign. I lightly blend some of the lead into the middle of each segment. and I'm just randomly adding the shading where I want to give it a more authentic look. Using a chip brush and chalk paint in the color mineral, I'm just lightly adding a little bit more distressing to the areas. I go back in with some of that lead from a pencil and I'm just going to deepen some of the areas and add a little bit more texture to each segment. I wanted to keep the sign nice and bright white, but also give it a distressed look. I use one of these cute little bunny butt picks from the Dollar Tree, and I'll be removing that dowel. And it was harder to remove than I thought. I did end up cutting it down to the nub, but that little nub was still inside the bunny and I could not get it out. I didn't want to risk ripping it, so I did cut lightly around the hole and I just pushed that little dowel in as much as I could, and then I glued the hole back together. So this little butt is going to be peeking out over the top of the sign. I decided to add some bunny ears peeking over the top of the fence. So I cut 4 pieces from white felt and I glue them together, but I decided to add a white pipe cleaner in the middle so that I could bend the ears if I wanted to. The felt I used was pretty thin, so I just added another piece of felt over the pipe cleaner so that you couldn't see through it, and it also gives it a more quilted look. Off camera, I painted some of the wood letters in nice bright colors. Some of them are missing because I actually started off painting these letters using some chalk paint in the color celery and ballet slipper, but it just looked a little plain. So I changed it using some brighter colors. Some of my letters are drying off camera. Going in with some embellishments from the Hobby Lobby, including the little carrots, 2 different kinds of felt flowers. I also have some little gem butterflies and flowers from the Dollar Tree. I don't end up using those. I decided that I wanted to have a string of carrots hanging from the fence, so I'm gluing the twine in places where I want it to hang from the fence. And I'm adding some carrots to make it look like a little carrot garland hanging from the fence. You can see I've already added a bow to the bunny's ear. I end up taking that off and replacing it with a different bow. I found these felt flowers from Hobby Lobby and they're made really well. It was very hard getting that adhesive sticker off the back. I could have just left it on, but it was a little too thick and stuck out farther from the sign than I wanted, so I just cut off as much as I could without damaging the flower. I didn't want to get carried away adding too many embellishments, so I decided to stick with the flowers at the bottom and the carrots at the top. I think it's looking pretty cute so far, and I could absolutely stop here, but I decided to make the letters stand out even more. And at first, I thought it would be nice to give them a stitched look by just adding some dashes using white paint, but that ended up taking too long, so I decided to add some white dots using a stylus. I go back in with some pencil lead, adding it directly to the sign, and I'm just adding a little bit more shading near the bottom of the sign where it would naturally be. This is one of the few times where I actually use the original twine hanger that the sign came with. I usually don't like to use them. Off camera, I made a two-finger bow, and I decided I liked the look of that better than the bow that I originally made, so I'm just replacing it. And I add a little bit of detail using these faux pearl beads from the Dollar Tree. Now, I think the sign is looking pretty good the way it is, but to make a good sign even better, it's all about details. So I go in with my ultrafine Sharpie marker and add some squiggles and dots around the fence as well as on the letters. If you've watched my other videos, you know how much I like to add these squiggles and lines, and it really does make a project stand out. At the end of a project, I'm always amazed at how much better it looks with the Sharpie marker details. I add some details to the letters, but I'm not going all the way around. I'm just putting it in particular sections. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that I've included several Easter and spring projects using a variety of colors and styles. I hope you find some projects that appeal to your sense of style and taste, but I also hope it inspires you to try something new. Here's a look at the finished project. You can see that I've also added some Sharpie details to the middle of each segment, giving the appearance of wood grain. I love this little bunny jumping over the fence to get some carrots. For project number 4, I decided to use this very tall bunny couple. They are sold separately, and rather than use them as a hanging sign, I decided to attach them to a pedestal so they can stand together. I did plan on showing you a complete tutorial on how I did these bunnies, but somehow after editing the entire video and getting it to its complete stage, I cannot locate the file. After exhausting all of my resources trying to get my file back, I thought I should probably just scrap this idea and not include it in the video, but I think it's cute enough that it deserves some attention and it might give you guys some ideas on how you can decorate your own. I spent a lot of time on them and I think they turned out too cute to not talk about. Looking at them side by side, you can see that I kept the original pattern. I didn't make any major changes to it. I traced the entire piece onto some transfer paper and then used that to cut out some scrapbook paper pieces to fit as the clothing. I ripped all of the paper off the bunnies and I painted the head, the hands, the feet, and the ears. I covered the rest of it with scrapbook paper and used some embellishments from Hobby Lobby as well as Dollar Tree. I did something similar for a Valentine elf project that I showed you guys last month, but instead of using felt, I used scrapbook paper. The felt flowers and the wreath on her head are from Hobby Lobby. I painted the ears white, but cut out the pink inner ear from scrapbook paper. I made the carrot using some fabric from the Dollar Tree and some felt that I had on hand. I wasn't completely happy with the male bunny's eyes, but after filming the final look, I changed the eyes so that they matched the females. I made the little Easter basket by cutting the shape out of some foam board and then covering it with yarn. The little eggs in the basket are either from Hobby Lobby or the Dollar Tree that I had painted, and I did all of the shading and highlighting using chalk pastels. I used different colors and textures of the scrapbook paper to give the outfits a more layered look. For the pedestal, I used a tabletop sign from the Dollar Tree and cut a groove down the middle. I cut another tabletop sign in half and used it to stabilize the bunnies in the back so that they don't wobble around. I think they look so much better after getting a makeover. I'm sorry I couldn't share the tutorial with you, but I hope it inspires you to think outside of the box when making your own. I hope you enjoyed these projects. Thank you so much for watching my videos and supporting my channel. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit that thumbs up, and let me know in the comments which project you like best.